And I believe we are live. I believe so. There we go. How's everybody tonight? It is currently 11:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know this is a late one, and there's a lot to cover, so I'm going to try to go as quick as I can on topics. I'm going back to my comment section. Anybody that comes live and anything that you want me to expand on, just tell me to stop or write it in the comments with stars or big question marks or whatever, and I'll come back to your comment and I will elaborate. Please believe, you just got to try it. So, the number one topic tonight, I believe, because I wrote some of these backwards, but sadly I can't see my description here. Show comments on stage. Oh, okay, I see what that is. Okay. So, okay. Still trying to figure out all the nuances and stuff with this program. It is not going to be a free program. So, that's the downfall to this. But, regardless, I believe number one is the U.S. deploys aircraft carrier to Latin America. Am I correct on that? I can't tell. Let me check. I'm just going to go to my YouTube myself and see what is up. And then check the description. And that should make it easier, right? I hope this doesn't mess anything up. So, yeah. U.S. deploys aircraft carrier to Latin America. That's what's happening. They're going hard on the cartels in the Colombia. Well, I can't even think right now. Mexico, Venezuela, Maduro, Venezuela. And that means our military is getting very serious, and they're about to experience the might of the United States military. And we know that cartels are powerful in a sense. I would not compare them to how powerful the mafia used to be. In all honesty, the mafia was brutal, but the cartels are just as brutal to people, but they don't have. Okay, I gotta take that back. I have seen videos of cartels that literally have MRAPs, and if you don't know what an MRAP is, it is a basic military vehicle that you can see our SWAT that drive around in the dark gray, charcoal gray, black, whatever, and you can practically shoot a rocket launcher at it, and it would dent a door. Yeah, I don't know. There's not much that can get through it, and they're built that way. And I've seen cartels that have 30, 40 of these. Now that's a problem. But what they're not a problem for are our F-16s, our F-22 Raptors, our F-35Cs, which are the only ones that America owns, by the way. Other NATO countries have other forms of the F-35. We are the only ones with the C model. And I would imagine that's why our aircraft carriers are going down there. But then we also have air refuelers. Okay. And the way it's looking, it's not very promising for the cartels. Okay. And I believe this stems from I can't verify this source. You out there may be able to Google it right now and comment in the chat there that I believe one of the cartels made a threat towards Trump or somebody in the Trump administration or I don't know if it was Kash Patel or what, but the main thing is we're trying to stop the drugs. The fentanyl is the big thing. Cocaine is number 2 coming into America. And they are going to use the full military might, and Putin needs to take notice. Because one of our other topics we'll be talking about, which is number 2, Lithuanian president, Russian military planes have violated Baltic countries in quotes, airspace. So, Russian bombers, if you haven't watched my past couple videos, sorry for the vehicles passing. I turned off the background noise so I can do this. How's that sound? But Estonia, Romania, Poland, and the main one was Alaska. So there's 4, right? I believe there's more than that now. Lithuania, so that would make it 6. The problem with Alaska is Vladimir Putin was flying nuclear bombers on the international to United States border and very, very close, as in a threatening manner. And they had nukes on board. Live, ready to go. Nukes. He may want to watch what he does. And this was weeks ago. Here we go. How about this? I'm sure Kash Patel was just shaking in his boots. So, that would be a reason to up the ante. You're right. I said in my last podcast, there's a reason why Donald Trump can't just say, let's go down there and take out Maduro, as the president of the United States against another illegitimate president, because Putin's an illegitimate president and he's a dictator. He's way past and way beyond his 12 years of presidency. Thou shalt not concede, or 2 terms, right? 2 terms, Mr. Putin. If you're watching, I'd be honored for you to watch and maybe learn a little bit. We're not as scared of you as you might think. Just because you got bombs, so do we. And we all know that what happens if somebody lights one of those big bada booms off, right? It's global disaster. So let's not go there. Just back out of Ukraine. Let them live in peace. They can't join NATO for at least another 10 years. You're probably good for a little while. And we gained a few NATO members that were completely neutral for a very, very long time in history. You weren't expecting. You just got sanctioned. Also. And I want to say this to my viewers. Donald Trump was going to send all those Tomahawks to Ukraine, and then Putin called him, and then Biden, because there's a point I'm saying this. Trump hung up the phone, called off the Tomahawks, right? Our former president, Biden, wouldn't have had the balls to do it. Okay? He didn't. He did help Ukraine a lot. I will say that. but I think it was more for American good rather than Ukrainian good. And Donald Trump is trying to find like an easy medium. Everything we send over there is a test field. It's a live action, live war test field. And if people aren't familiar with tomahawks, I'm going to give you a very short rendition of what they are. They're normally fired from large aircraft or destroyers or submarines. They're very big missiles. They are. And we have a ground-based unit that is able to fire, I believe, 2 or 3, but it is in the testing phases. And I believe that's what Ukraine is going to get because they don't have the means. They don't have submarines like we do. They don't have the planes that we do. They just got F-16s, right, from NATO. And they don't have destroyers. So it's a testing field. But I will say this. I think that Putin hung up the phone and was like, we're still sending a few. We might not be sending as many as we were originally going to, or that he promised Zelensky. But I'm sure a few are going to be going to Ukraine because we're going to test them. And then you got to think about that morally. Is that okay that we're testing weapons on people that are being forced to go to the front lines? Because a lot of these Russians are surrendering. And fortunately for them, the Ukrainians follow the Geneva Convention. The men that surrender are taken into captivity. They are prisoners of war, and then they are released normally back to Russia. But most of them don't want to go to Russia. They want to go to another country. Don't blame them because they're just going to be drafted back into the war, thrown in the front lines, whatever, you know. And they're given very good military aid. They're given very good food. They're treated 100 times better than the Russians have been treating the POWs of Ukraine. Some of them are just unalived just because they don't want to take them captive. It takes a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of strategy in taking POWs and transporting them back further back behind the lines and stuff, right? And rendering aid to them and making sure they live and then putting them in camps and interrogating them and everything. And they just don't do that, you know. So Anna Marie Forrester, Forrest, how are you? How's Pete? How are you guys? Nice to see you on here. So you caught me live. So we were on number 2. Number 3 is my personal and my fiance's update. That's great. That's great. I'm glad you guys are good. So RWTM episode 18, right, was the Charlie Kirk visual. And I had 7 copyright infringements brought against me by YouTube for the gospel music that was played on stage or sung along with, was it God Bless the USA? And I was looking at my YouTube channel being shut down because I challenged those, right? Knowing that they weren't copyright, right? These people, this band and everything did their own renditions and remixes of the songs right? So there was no reason I knew I would comfortably argued that fact to YouTube. And I just got the clearance, was it yesterday? I think so. Officially, that it has been cleared from copyright. So that's good news. Number 4. Yes, about time. Number 4 is NDE. Is anybody aware of what NDE is? That means near death experience. And some of these stories that I wouldn't even call them stories, I'd call them more experiences. One that I can think of, and I will kind of elaborate, and these are in credit of John Burke. He's a pastor, he's a book writer, and he has examined and investigated over 1,500 near-death experiences, and he has explanations for each one of these. But the one I'm going to give, her name was Vicky, and she was blind from birth. Get that, okay? And she was in her mid to late 40s. Never saw in her entire life. She was clinically dead. No brain activity, no heartbeat, laying on a bed, died. Hovered out of her body, saw her body, saw the doctors working on her. Her sight, she was amazed. But then she started floating and she started zooming through like this tunnel, she described it. And I'm going to try to make this story as short as possible, but I got to get through the true and the most important facts. She's seen relatives, and she knew they were relatives because of their voice, not because of her sight, right? She never knew what they looked like. And then she was led and she was shown her life and things that she was always curious about. And everything was super realistic for her, meaning feeling the overwhelming feeling of love, comfort, warmth, and this glory. And she didn't understand what the glory was. She was not a Christian. She was Hindu. Okay? Well, she ended up seeing her ancestors and stuff and finally seeing what they looked like. Remember, this woman was blind from birth. So she was able to see their faces and everything. And then she came across this man who she didn't know who was, but she had this overwhelming feeling of love in her heart. And he said to her, I am that I am. But he didn't speak it. See? I don't know if I just messed my mic. He didn't speak it. Almost all of these, around 31, 32, 30, between 31 and 35% of these NDEs, near-death experiences, they all have the same type of things that happen, right? And I'm about to tell you something that's going to blow your mind, and that's why I absolutely believe in my gospel of Jesus Christ in the Bible, and absolutely believe that there is life after death, that you don't just go to blackness like before we were born, because, I mean, who wants to remember our birth? We love our mothers, and I love my mother that's in heaven, but I don't really want to remember my birth. Yeah, no. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so after her experience and her finding out that Jesus is the way, and he said, I am the only one who can bring you to the Father and to this place. And she could smell, and she had all her heightened senses that she had here on earth, but they were way higher senses than she could ever imagine. And as she's coming back down, because he said, you have to go back, right? And I believe he's speaking to her in Farsi or something, right? Her language. She was Indian, from India. And as she was coming back down in her body, it was like She was coming super fast, and then she slowed down at the roof. She went through the roof, and as she was going through the roof, there was a ceiling fan above her bed in the hospital. And on one of the blades, there was one round sticker about that big. And it was a red sticker, perfectly round. And I forget what it said. Did it say cheer up? Something along those lines, like cheer up or something along those lines, right? Remember, this woman's blind. And they have her covered up with a sheet. They've already pulled everything off of her, and she sits up, and the doctors are like, what is happening? This woman, she has literally been clinically dead for over 35 minutes. Now, most people understand that without brain flow, correct me if I'm wrong, babe, you're the one taking this course. 12 minutes would be completely brain dead, right? Pretty much, without blood flow. So you're brain dead, clinically brain dead. And she sits straight up out of bed and starts telling these people, these doctors and nurses in this room, about this amazing experience she's had. And she's back in her body and she is blind again, right? And they don't know what to think. But there's one nurse is like kind of listening, and she's like, the main doctor's like, oh, let's give her a sedative. She had a psychological break, it was the body dying. They're trying to dismiss it this way and that way, right? This is just one of 1,500 plus stories, okay? And she said to that nurse that was listening to her, she said, I can absolutely prove to you that what I witnessed. She said, on top of this fan above me, and this woman's blind, and the nurses know she's blind, and she's like, how do you know there's a fan? But on top of that, she's like, there's a sticker. It's a red sticker with white lettering, and it said something along the lines of, have hope or something. So that nurse went and got a ladder, and her head could barely fit between the ceiling and that ceiling blade. And as she spun the ceiling blades, it came to the one that had the red little sticker. And the nurse fell off the ladder, could not believe it, ran out, was telling the doctors, and that's just Vicky's story. So, why do I say that? Why do I bring up John Burke and the 1,500 plus that he investigated? Because it brings glory to God. I did this backwards, didn't I? What number is the... I gotta check. Yeah, number 4. Okay, so now I'm on number 5. So 500,000 federal workers will not get their second check due to Democrats in the Congress. They absolutely refuse to pass a bill until their illegals are included in it. Unlimited health care. I don't know what is happening. What is happening? Can somebody explain it to me? Because I can't understand. I've been trying to pay attention to it, and I can't even focus on it because it's just so stupid. Mind you, these are the same people. If my camera dies, just mark my words, I'm not going to end my live tonight. I have my extra batteries ready. I'm just going to have to take a second and change my battery, and we'll come back, and it'll be right back on. But because my camera just clicked over. So we're talking military personnel. We're talking governmental people, incredibly important people that run this country. And who's taking a large hit, people don't understand, are aircraft controllers and stuff, right? And guess what holiday's coming? Thanksgiving. And people aren't going to get their EBT. And we're not going to have as many planes flying because there ain't going to be as many people to, air traffic controllers to control these planes. It's going to get very, very ugly quick. I was just shown another video by my mother-in-law today of another woman ranting about, oh, I ain't going to get my food stamps. She's talking about putting on a helmet and going in and just raiding the store. And like I said on my last video, well, you can do that, but it's illegal, and I'm sure the law will win. But do as you may, right? Do as you may. 40 million plus will lose SNAP. 40 million. It's sad it's come to this, that Democrats are weaponizing. And anybody that is watching, because I have a bunch of people watching, if you have a comment or you have something to say about any of these, or you disagree with me, I'm open to debate. Just type out whatever you feel, and we'll talk about it. Sincerely, we'll talk about it. But I want to thank all the men and women who do still put on their uniform, even though they're not being paid, whether they're being forced to still do their job or they're doing their job because they love their job. And I'm sure that money will be made up. But this second round of checks is a little different. Okay? It's just a little different. And the reason it's a little different is because apparently the second check will not be reimbursed. The first one will be. This next one won't be. So that's the difference. I've seen some very sad videos of wives packing their husbands' clothes. Absolutely. Packing their husband's clothes, their camis, and sending them back to the military because they're on unpaid leave. So not only are they not working, but their family ain't getting no money. And, well, you can't really apply for EBT. You're unemployed. It's not like our military personnel, regular Army, Navy, Coast Guard, reserves, right, are paid all that well to begin with. So it's sad. But our national debt is dropping by the minute. And I do think that Donald Trump has a little trick up his sleeve. I do. I think he has a little something hidden that he's going to send money out, and he might just send it out to the people that are taking the biggest hit. And then we'll see how the people react that are like, oh, well, if I don't get my food stamps, I'm going to raid Walmart. And then they get a check in the mail from Donald J. Trump. The one they called a fascist. The No Kings. Sorry. Oh, you know who was a king? Obama. I think Obama was a king, and I think he was the king of the auto pen. I do. And there may be some evidence to actually back that. That's not just me throwing a conspiracy theory out here right now. Another conspiracy is that Candace Owens called out French President Macron and his We'll call his wife. Thank you for tuning in, Maria. Anna. Sincerely. You have a great night too. And tell Pete I said hi. And then we still need to have a Yingling. But, so where was I? What was I talking about? Because I forgot. I got sidetracked. Sorry. Oh, French President Macron and his wife decided to try to sue Candace Owens because Candace Owens said Macron's wife is not a woman, biological woman. Well, here, I have a little something to show you. And sadly, I didn't upload it to my computer, so I can't even screen share it. But that's the point to this app. So I'll just give you a little, like, this is what I would do, right? And I would be right beside me right now, right? Or I could do this, right? Or I could do this. But I didn't upload it, so I can't do it, unfortunately. There we go. I'm fully expanded now. But the picture I want to show, and I'm going to bring it as close to the photo or to the camera as I can, is this one. It's just a little problem we got. Where did I put that? A bunch of stuff's happening. It's right here. It is right here. So let's see if I can. Let's see how close I can get it. Can you see it? I wish I could zoom. I wish I could bring my lens in. I'm just gonna read it. But it was posted on X. Breaking. French President Emmanuel Macron's wife, Brigitte Macron. You better be sitting down. Everybody's watching, better be sitting down. Discovered that her tax account, like X and deport him and all kinds of stuff popping up. What's going on? Gunther Eagleman, deport him. Discovered that her tax account on France's official government website. This is practically the first lady of France, right? Listed her as a male under the name Jean Michel or Michael. I don't know. It's JEAN dash MICHEL. Google it yourself. It's not a joke. Well, they dropped the lawsuit on Candace Owens because they were going to have to provide discovery, which was going to be blood sample, and then they were going to find out that, yep, that wasn't even on my list realistically. It was just something that I thought was a little out there. So number 6 is a very serious topic, and it's not being covered anywhere. And I put it as number 6 because that is the number of the beast. 666 is his number and his name. The liar, the father of all lies. Christians genocided in Nigeria, 125,000 plus total, and 19,100 churches destroyed. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on that. This is absolutely sickening. So while we're looking at, Ukraine headlines, Putin headlines, Israel headlines, Gazan headlines, Venezuela, Mexico, Russia interference, this, that, and another thing. Donald Trump shutting down the government on CNN, but everywhere else, like Fox News and, the people that actually have a couple brain cells, are saying that Congress is shutting down the government, which is the factual truth. We have this little problem going on. 7,087 Nigerian Christians were killed alone just this year by ISIS. That's 35 a day. If you extrapolate it out, 35 a day. I mentioned 19,100 churches destroyed. It's an ISIS forced conversion. So you convert to Muslim, or you meet the Lord early, and that may be the will, because Christ said, anybody that denies me before my Father, I will deny before my Father. So right now I can tell you that if somebody were to force me to denounce Christ, this would be the last podcast you would see. Just saying. And then on top of that, here's the shocker that I didn't know about. But looking into this, I found out. Okay. And this was a little while ago. Okay. It wasn't immediate, but this was a little while ago. 112 churches were burned in Canada while Trudeau was president. And on one question by one of their news agencies, his response was, quote, he understands their hate, end quote. He understands whose hate? The radicalized Muslims that are killing Christians in Canada? Trudeau understood that? I understand that Trudeau is no longer Canadian's president, but this is my point. There's another point I have with Trudeau. You remember the trucker convoy? Remember that little shutdown that happened up there? Yeah, they were hammering the truckers, saying you have to be vaccinated, you have to wear masks, you can only drive these many hours, this, that, and another thing. Guess what? They solved that in Canada, started heading south to DC when Joey Biden was behind the Oval Office desk, and guess what he did? No more COVID masks, no more isolation, no more mandatory vaccinations required, because Canada was our testing pot. Just like right now, Britain is our testing pot with the whole little chip under the skin for our digital currency, right? That's how they want to, the one world government wants to control what you buy, what you eat, what you can purchase, what you can't. Everything. Just like TikTok, right? As you scroll through TikTok, they just feed you whatever they want you to believe. I need people to talk here in the comments. There's people watching. I can see you. I can, lurkers. Lurkers. So we covered the whole problem with the Christian genocide. We're, great news about everything else, and horrible news about the others. But that's always happening. But what nobody's focusing on is the genocides that are happening literally en masse against Christians. And I don't know if it's just because we are to love our enemy and so on and so forth, right? But how long are we supposed to sit idly by before we actually speak up? There's nothing wrong with speaking up. I'm doing it right now, and I'm a non-denominational Christian, and I will blare it as loud as I can. I would love for this video to go viral in just this clip. So I allow people to obviously clip my videos. If you want to make your own clip of this video and do a reaction to it, you're more than welcome to. Right there. It would be what? Topic number 6. So I'm going to go to 7. Chuck Holton, Death of Civilization link tree. I did it the other day. My book is, unfortunately, I put it back in here, right there. So that's where it's at. And then number 8 is F-16s, F-22 Raptors, F-35Cs, B-2 stealth bombers, and air refuelers. And that goes back to number 1, where the USA just deployed an aircraft carrier south to Latin America to fight the cartels. If we're sending an aircraft carrier down there, there's serious problems. We already have special forces on the ground. So that's always good, right? I'm going to throw this up. I got to go to banners here. I'm going to throw this up. Right here. And that's about Chuck's book. Great book. It will prepare you for the EBT shutdown. Yep, it will. It will. We're already prepared for it. It doesn't matter. I don't need to go to the store anytime soon to really be honest with anybody. It's just we continue to do so until there's no longer food there, apparently. I did type out a long message on X earlier, and I can read it verbatim. Just give me a minute to pull it up, and I'll read it. What did I say? Replies. This is not on this one. Here we go. I said this was about the woman going crazy about she was going to break into the stores and take all the food, this, that, and another thing, right? And this is my reply. A couple laughing faces. And I said, people are nuts. Blame Congress, not Trump. Fact. And I understand she's worried about her babies and all that and not having food. But I'm curious, how many canned goods does she have saved in case a store doesn't have food? Like maybe just possibly all the stores around her area get raided before she goes there to get her food. Think about that. Because there's going to be mass chaos if that happens, right? It's going to be a free for all. We're at a point in our country's history that's obviously saddening, almost maddening. But has anyone ever maybe thought about preparing themselves for the unthinkable? And that unthinkable would be that trucks stop delivering food to stores, meat markets shut down because beef aren't being delivered to the butchers, or whole livestock are wiped out because of a virus or whatever it may be, right? Radiation contamination would be a real big one. Wiped out as an example, and there be no beef, pork, or chicken, or anything, and all that goodness is unavailable. Start thinking, people, and let's not get radical. It's we the people, big bold letters on top of our Constitution. It's right there. But sincerely, please do not attack mine or yours at POTUS character because you ain't getting your food. Democrats in Congress that refuse to pass a bill. That's the facts. That is absolutely the facts. And if you learn the truth shall set you free. And just a side note, Jesus's middle name is not Lamar. That had to do with the video that I watched, right? In my comment. But I do believe the woman was attempting not to use his name in vain. And she stated something along the lines of Jesus, Lamar, Christ. And, I understand she's mad, but she doesn't even know whether she's getting her food stamps or not. From what I understand and from what I've been told, that it's the only people that aren't going to get food stamps or SNAP benefits, whatever you want to call it, are the people who are eligible to work, abled, willing, and can work, and are choosing not to work. Those are the people that are done first, right? So, with my next topic here. Okay, so, I guess I kind of mixed those together. So the scriptures, we can go to the scriptures. But to go back shortly on the number 8, the F-16s, F-22s, F-35Cs, the B-2 stealth bombers. We're the only country in the world with B-2 stealth bombers, just so you know. That's why Israel needed us to carry out what we did on Iran, right? They don't have bombers like we do. Nobody in the world has them. Only we do. So there's that. So the scriptures that I wanted to cover here real quick. I hope I'm not boring anybody. I really, really, really hope I'm not. Isaiah 2, and this is very, very summarized. Okay. But Isaiah 2 is the one world government in the last days, right? And there will be a false peace. And then there will be insanity, right? And that brings in the Antichrist. So Revelation 21 is the great and high mountain that John, the apostle whom Christ loved, was shown the city. And the city of Jerusalem, right, that he was shown, was not built by hands made by man, but the city was directly made by God and him alone. And we're talking about the first seals, right? And then, in short, the war, right? And then the Antichrist. But you got to understand, there are 7 seals, then there are 7 bowls, and then there are 7 trumpets. Okay? In the final days. And where we are, I won't even pretend to know. Okay? I'm not privileged enough to know that knowledge. But we can go back to Jeremiah 6:1 to flee, because the north great destruction comes from the north. 6:14, false teachers, they will claim peace, 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 right, in the world, but there will be no peace. 8:11, they will heal superficially. 14, chapter 14, 13 to 14 is the lasting peace that is Christ. And Revelation 6:1 is peace, but it is not Christ. And nor is it the Antichrist. It's just a deceiver that will say they'll make peace with Israel for a short period of time, and then they will turn on them, and everything will go south from there, right? So, is there anything? Let me go back to comments. Is there anything anybody wants me to recover or have an opinion on or wants me to recover or more in depth? Because I can go into more depth on stuff. But I recommend, obviously, number one, Chuck Holton. His book is right. If I do the camera, it's right there. Death of Civilization. The link is in the description. And it will prepare you for not having ABT. It will prepare you for if Antifa takes over your city. It will prepare you for pretty much everything I just talked about with the revelation and the end times, right? But if you put your faith in Christ, then you have nothing to worry about. That's the best news. It's the greatest news ever. If there's any atheists watching, I just want to answer you a question because I'm testing this. What's today's date? Technically, it's 12:33, so it's a new day, but it's October 26th, 2025. What do you think happened about 2025 years ago? They changed that date. Have any ideas? His name is Jesus Christ. Do you know what it was before that? BC. Do you know why it was called BC? Before Christ. It wasn't just a prophet. And here's another fact. The Muslims believe in Jesus Christ. The problem is the Muslims believe that Jesus Christ was just a prophet. That's where they're getting it mixed up. And I can go back to John Burke, who has done investigations, and Muslim men. He's investigated over 1,500 near-death experiences, and Muslim men, the adamant Muslims, we're talking in the heart of Muslim countries, right, have turned to Christ because of a near-death experience. They were completely cut off by their family. They had to flee their country in secret. They were disowned by their families. They had basically a price on their head, all because they bowed down and worshiped Christ. It's how much they hate Christians, which goes back to the story of the Nigerians. Mass unalivings of Christians in Nigeria, and how many news agencies are covering it? This many. It's happening every day. Nobody's covering it. Why? Why is nobody covering it? Because in this day and age, if you want to test this for yourself, you can, right? I'm very sincere when I say this. In this day and age, right now, what we're living is what is bad is considered good, and what is good is considered bad or evil, right? Whichever way you want to put it. Good and evil, evil and good. And there's no two ways about it. I mean, that's literally what's happening. Just like all these people, they're like, oh, Donald Trump shutting down the government. Donald Trump. No, it's the Democrats that you voted for in Congress that are holding it up. Do you know what the Senate did at 2 a.m. the other day? I covered this in my last podcast. They shared poetry at 2 a.m. in the morning. That's what the senators were doing. You know, Booker and all them. After they got back from the No Kings rally, of course, that was top priority. You know, doing their job was secondary because they're guaranteed their paychecks, right? Doesn't matter what Congress does. They're getting their paychecks. Their Senate. It's unbelievable. So I just want to state that I put a short out the other day about the few disturbances that were shot out of Gaza and how the IDF are at the yellow line. I'm not going to go into full detail on all of that. My camera just, just clicked over. Okay, we're still good. We still got battery. But, I want to show that again. So there's the information on that. Actually, I'm going to put this one up. How about that? How do you like that? Okay. You got to plan ahead. You really do. You got to start thinking. And there, we are instructed in the Bible, right, that we are not dealing or fighting against flesh and blood. We're not. It may seem like we are, but we're not. We are fighting spiritual forces in the heavenly places. Period. So evil is working overtime right now in everybody's life, Christian or not. You are not immune to it. If you are a Christian, especially if you're a new Christian coming to Christ, you're going to be attacked more than you ever were. Every Christian in the end times is going to be persecuted more than ever before in history. And we're seeing that. Nigeria is the example right now. Okay. But while down in Brazil, there are literally tens and 20s of thousands of people coming to Christ in mass baptisms. Something's happening. I'm not a foreseer. I don't get messages from God. All I can do is interpret what I'm seeing around the world, and I believe that we are nearing the end times. So put your faith in Christ, because he's the only way off of this mortal coil that we're on, as Chuck Holton says. So I'm going to throw this up one last time for Chuck. Right there. And please, if you've been watching, I'm going to check my comments one more time, just to make sure nobody's commented. Okay. It hasn't been. Here we go. That you just take a moment and like this video, possibly subscribe, maybe click the bell if you want notifications every time I post something in my community, or post a video, go live, anything like that, my shorts. You don't have to click the bell notification if you don't want it. I'm not going to blow up your phone. I do like one video a day, if that, but I promised my viewers. What is going on? I promised my viewers that I would do one video a week. I've done 4 technically this week. So I appreciate everybody who has watched. And please don't forget to hit the like, comment after the video ends. And once again, thank you for watching another episode of Real World Truth Matters. Because the truth does matter, and so do the facts. And until next time, from my family to yours, stay blessed.